If you have already watched this introductory information, you can skip ahead no more than 10 minutes. Hello, welcome. It is predicted that President Trump will die from a heart attack on January 1st, 2025. I am predicting that on January 2nd, 2025, Vice President Kamala Harris will die in a plane crash in St. Louis due to a bird strike into Busch Stadium. In the area code 314, it will be a burning bush, as described in Exodus 3:14. She will be replaced by Michelle Obama, and then Barack Obama will replace Michelle. I am predicting that dirty bombs will explode in Manhattan, New York City, and there will be a large-scale evacuation on January 2nd, 2025. Martial law will be declared in the U.S. It is predicted that Joe Biden will replace Kamala Harris with Michelle Obama as the vice president. Joe Biden will then step down. Per the 20th Amendment, Congress will vote to make Michelle Obama the temporary president. It is predicted that Joe Biden will then step down and Michelle Obama will become the 47th president, and then she will appoint Barack Obama as the 51st vice president. It is then predicted that she will step down on January 12th and Barack Obama will become the 48th president. I am predicting that former President Jimmy Carter will die on January 28th. It is predicted that on April 20th, 2025, there will be an outbreak of monkeypox or Marburg disease or both. April 20th will be a symbolic beginning to a new pandemic. Alternatively, it could also be that the symbolic beginning to the new pandemic will be on April 1st, 2025, and that on April 20th, 2025, martial law will be declared because of the new outbreak. If these predictions for April 1st and April 20th, 2025 do not come to pass, there will be a relevant prophetic sign that will occur on this date, making this date a step in the trail of signs leading to these particular events. It is predicted that on June 9th, the key will open the bottomless pit and fallen angels will cross over into the earthly realm. June 9th will be a symbolic beginning to the fifth trumpet judgment that is described in Revelation chapter 9, when the demonic realm collides with the earthly realm. June 9th will be a symbolic beginning to demons pretending to be aliens. The demons pretending to be aliens will claim to be here to help us with our nuclear weapons, and it is possible that June 9th will be the day Pope Francis will announce that aliens have arrived and have made him the ambassador for the world. This will immediately give Pope Francis, the Antichrist, supreme power over governments of the world. At some point, there will be a massive Mary apparition that will deceive the masses, because all Mary apparitions in history have been demons pretending to be Mary. June 9th will be a symbolic beginning to a zombie pandemic and the masses becoming demonically possessed that will be facilitated through the thing, which is the mark of the Antichrist, and 5G frequencies. June 9th will be a symbolic beginning to the coming genocide politicide in America. If June 9th is not the date for these events, there will be a relevant prophetic sign or prophetic signs, which will make June 9th a step in the trail of signs leading to the date of the symbolic beginning of these things. I am predicting that singer-songwriter Paul Simon will die on August 1st, 2025. It is predicted that on August 6th, 2025, the historic barge that has been stuck on the rocks of the Niagara River for over 100 years will finally break free and crash over Niagara Falls. The reason for this is that Niagara Falls is Noah's flood symbolism, and the barge was involved in the most dramatic rescue in the history of Niagara Falls, symbolic of Noah's Ark. Niagara in the native language means straight, narrow way, and Niagara's Horseshoe Falls is perfectly aimed at the CN Tower in downtown Toronto, because Toronto and its tower are symbolic of the Tower of Babel. In a game of horseshoes, the object is to aim the horseshoe and throw it at the metal stick, which is why the Horseshoe Falls is perfectly aimed at the metal stick that is the CN Tower. God is communicating that as testament for those who will live in the 1,000 years of Christ's reign on earth, the geography of North America will, as a result of a massive earthquake, be divided by a body of water from the Great Lakes to the Mississippi Delta. This destruction will be judgment on America and Canada for attempting to divide God's land, Israel. When this happens, the water in the Great Lakes will spill out over southern Ontario and Toronto. I am predicting that a solar flare will erupt on the surface of the sun and send a coronal mass ejection that will hit Earth on August 13th, 2025, which will knock out America's power grid and will lead to food shortages. The hit of the coronal mass ejection, predicted for August 13th, that will knock out the power grid will also knock many planes out of the sky. I am predicting that on August 23rd, 2025, there will be a catastrophic asteroid hit of Earth, which will trigger the eruption of Yellowstone volcano and will cause the volcano in the Canary Islands to collapse into the Atlantic Ocean and send a mega tsunami towards the east coast. The asteroid will also trigger a mega landslide on Hawaii Island that will trigger a mega tsunami that will hit the west coast. It will also trigger the collapse of the Hoover Dam, which will cause a water panic in California, and many other devastating earthquakes. The day of the Lord, the second coming of Lord Jesus Christ, Judgment Day, will be at the end of 2026. The date that this video is posted proves that these predictions are being made ahead of time, as do these time-stamped emails and forensic notes PDF documents. If you are skeptical for some reason, please email me and I will forward these to you. Believe me, I know far better than you how the prediction made in this video was derived. And more importantly, I know far better than you why the righteous Christian God of the Bible has given me a voice through this prediction. If you are a quote-unquote Christian or Muslim, this prediction was not learned through a demon. Be warned that blaspheming the Holy Spirit is the unforgivable sin. If you are a New Ager or New Spirituality person, this prediction was not learned through somehow tapping into the supposed universal collective consciousness. If you are a conspiracy theorist, this prediction was not learned through figuring out a supposed code that the Illuminati and Satanists are using. This prediction was learned through the Bible and through watching carefully the Lord's prophetic signs, which Jesus commanded all Christians to do. Besides proving that Jesus Christ is the Lord, the reason why God has given me a voice through this prediction is to prove that the controversial things that I am saying in the videos on this channel are the truth. Therefore, a wise person will want to watch all of the videos on this channel. What I will also do is create a video or two that summarizes some of the controversial things that the Lord will prove to be true when the prediction being made in this video comes to pass. I will leave links to these must-watch videos in the description box below this video. Again, the purpose of this prediction, that is from God, is to prove these things that I will talk about. And therefore, it would be foolish to not watch the videos that I will leave links for in the description box below this video. Make a note right now of these alternative platforms that you can find me on in case you can't find me later. All right, welcome. This video is predicting that Donald Trump will die on January 1st, 2025. As we can see here, this email was composed on December 26th. The date that this video was posted also proves that this prediction is being made ahead of time, and so does the time-stamped email and forensic notes PDF document. If you are skeptical for some reason, please email me and I will forward these to you. That said, although this email says that this prediction is being at least documented in an email on December 26th, it has been known since December of 2019 that God is communicating through his big picture of signs, patterns, and connections that Donald Trump will die from a heart attack and that it will be consequential. I had no idea back then how consequential it would be. If he dies before the vote in Congress regarding the election, his administration will not take power. All right, that's also a prediction. Well, it's not so much a prediction as the 20th Amendment is outlining what happens in such a scenario. And in that case, Congress will vote for a quote-unquote temporary president. They will not vote for J.D. Vance and the current administration. Let's put it that way. But it is also, on a side note, another thing that's not the subject of this video, it's also clear from God's signs that Michelle Obama will become the next president. And she will actually appoint Barack Obama as her vice president, and then she will step down and Barack Obama will become the 48th president. All right, also what needs to be said here is that there are other dates on which God was pointing to regarding the predicted death of President Trump. This is how it works. This is how God's true big picture of signs, patterns, and connections works, which is only being explained on this channel. And the prediction coming to pass will prove this. It'll prove what I just said about this being the only place where you will hear or have explained to you God's true big picture of signs, patterns, and connections, and which is an interconnected web in which none of the prophetic signs can be properly or fully understood without their context and connections to the other prophetic signs in the big picture. It is through these connected signs and related prophetic signs that God is able to tell these stories. This is how, for example, I know that President Trump will die from a heart attack and that it will be consequential. One might argue, well, people these days, they kind of got a feeling that something might happen. Well, no. This has been known since December of 2019, but whatever. The point is, though, is that it is through these stories that God is able to tell, through connecting the signs and creating a big picture of signs, that God is able to communicate extremely important information and knowledge that wouldn't otherwise be able to be communicated. It would be one thing for God to tap someone on the shoulder and say, hey, tell the world that such and such is going to happen on such and such date. But what good would that be? It wouldn't really be much use except for to prove that the God of the Bible is the true God, I suppose. But like I'm saying, that's not the purpose of these predictions at all. The purpose of these predictions is to confirm that the information in the stories that God is telling is true. And that can only be learned through watching these videos. And regarding the predicted death of President Trump from a heart attack, there are many other videos that were predicting that Trump would die on December 12th, 2024. There is extremely good reason for that. And the expected signs, the signs we expected in advance, because again, it is either going to be a step or the end of the trail and the death of Trump. It ended up being a step, and to make it a step means that there are relevant, related prophetic signs that occurred on that date that confirm all of the analysis, which was exactly the case. On that day, Trump, a type for Joshua, not, to get into explaining what happened on December 12th is a video in itself, right? But that was the day, and I'm just going to say a couple of things, and, I know it's not enough of an explanation, and you can roll your eyes if you want, but that was the day that he was named by Time Magazine Person of the Year for the second time, while he rang the bell on Wall Street, the opening bell, and Wall Street is near where the two planes struck the two towers on 9/11 and where George Washington was inaugurated, who was born on the date 2/22. Okay, so that's just enough. That's enough. If I explain any more, we're getting into another video of another subject. But I'm just telling you, the other videos will explain it, the ones that came after December 12th. And December 12th was a step. But what I need to also say is that there are videos that predicted December 12th that weren't updated. They still need to be watched. And they are just as much needed to be watched as this video or any of the videos predicting January 1st. Right? That's how it works, right? It was a step in the trail, and the information in the videos that led to December 12th needs to be learned because it's 100% correct. Although Trump didn't die on December 12th, the analysis is 100% correct. And if after the prediction you still don't get it, then you are wasting your time with this channel. All right? But, fair enough, before the prediction, you can, dismiss what I'm saying, but not after. After the prediction, it'll prove what I am saying is correct, and that this is God's true big picture of signs, patterns, and connections. And the signs and patterns and connections led to December 12th. And it was 100% correct, and the purpose of this prediction is for you to learn the information that's in these videos that predict December 12th. The same is true for the other dates regarding Kamala Harris's plane crash and the prediction for the dirty bombs in Manhattan. For example, the 70 videos that predicted Harris would crash on February 10th, and the 50 videos predicting the dirty bombs would explode on February 3rd, 2024. That's the same thing as what I'm explaining here. With that introduction out of the way, let's get into the amazing things and connections and prophetic signs and patterns that God is demonstrating here to reveal that President Trump will die on January 1st. The explanations here will be surface level, right? We're just going to go through these stories briefly. The details of these particular stories have been mostly explained in prior videos, and that's why they're able to come together in one day. I mean, because I have all of this knowledge regarding the big picture of signs, I can understand what God's doing, and in a couple of hours or less, type out what I've just typed out in this email. Because and what I'm going to type out, what I'm going to read here that I wrote in this email is deep and complex. Without me saying that, you'll be thinking that it must have taken me, weeks and weeks to put this information together, to come up with this, to come up with this, right? But no, this is all known because of the prior knowledge that God has been communicating with the big picture of science. That's how I'm able to recognize these things immediately. This is what makes what is being explained on this channel true, and not a product of one's imagination, and different and unique than everything else on the internet that claims to be an analysis of God's prophetic signs. It's these second and third and multiple witnesses that confirm a matter as the Bible says is required, and it is through the development of these connections that involve these second and third witnesses that we have a big picture, and I'm able to get so deep so quickly with God's signs, as you will see. But I'm just going to go over some basic explanations here for why January 1st. Okay, December 26th. So December 26th was a step. Well, yes, it was a step for President Trump. In the trail of signs regarding President Trump, it was a major step. Now, December 26th, which was recognized ahead of time as being the 20th, as in a hint at the 20th Amendment, incidentally, December 26th, 2024 was the 20th anniversary of 220,000 deaths in the Indian Ocean tsunami. Donald Trump is the 45th president, and the reciprocal of 45 is 0.0222. Okay, so God embedded in the number for Trump this number 0.022, which in fact, since the beginning, has been pointing to December 26th, 2024, the 20th anniversary of the 220,000 deaths in the Indian Ocean tsunami. So that's quite something. This date, this December 26th, 2024 date, has been recognized since 2017 as being a major date in the big picture of science. Right? That's because it is the first day of Hanukkah. And back in 2017, long story, it was believed that this would be the symbolic beginning of the Messianic age and the rededication of the Messianic temple. But anyway, nonetheless, this December 26th, 24 date has been paid attention to for many years. And recently it became learned that it would be a Trump date. That's how important Trump is in God's signs. Okay, the tsunami waves of this tsunami 20 years ago reached Yemen 6 hours after the earthquake and killed one person in Yemen. On December 26, 2024, 6 people were killed when the IDF bombed targets in the capital city of Yemen, Sana'a, I believe, based on the apostrophe between the two A's, I believe it's pronounced Sana'a, okay? Anyway, this capital city, I think it was the first time it was bombed by the IDF, but there's more reason than it just simply being the first bombing of this capital city that makes it clearly a prophetic sign. Sana'a is equal to 216 in English gematria. 216 is 6 times 6 times 6. The IDF targeted Houthi rebels after 4 recent missile attacks from Houthis that injured 4 times 4 people in Tel Aviv. The 44th president was born on the 216th day of the year, the 6 times 6 times 6th day of the calendar year, and the name Barak is equal to 216 in English gematria, just like the name Sana'a. 2 hours on this, 2 hours after the IDF hit targets at the international airport on the 20th anniversary of 220,000 deaths, right? That's hints at the 2 hours. The director of the WHO, posted on X that he had been inside the airport at the time and was boarding his flight. One crew member of his flight was injured, as he said. Okay, now this is what makes it a prophetic sign. The director, Tedros, the main honcho, right, of the WHO, the WHO, was boarding his plane in Yemen when the IDF attacked targets of the Houthis. Okay? That's a coincidence beyond a coincidence. This is clearly a sign from God. Now, because it's clear that the IDF did not know or intended to target, the head of the WHO. Now, the IDF waged war on the Houthi rebels, and the director of the WHO was caught up in it because Houthi rhymes with who, as in WHO. The answer to who is the Antichrist is the 44th president. The Antichrist will enforce the mark of the Antichrist at the direction of the WHO and the director of the WHO. The 6 deaths in the IDF attack on the capital of Yemen and the 1 death in Yemen from the tsunami that was 6 hours after the earthquake revealed that Trump's predicted death will be 6 days after the 6 deaths and the 20th anniversary of the tsunami that arrived in Yemen 6 hours after the earthquake on December 26th, 2024. All right? I just want to pause here and get into something that I forgot to mention. 6 deaths is 2 times 3 deaths, which is at 23. And again, the IDF did this bombing in response to the 4 recent missile attacks from Houthis that injured 4 times 4 people in Tel Aviv. That hints at 44. And God pairs 23 and 44 in his signs to confirm the signs and connections. And again, this is how God's true big picture of signs, patterns, and connections works. It works on the principle of second and third and multiple witnesses confirming a matter, as the Bible says is required. And this is what makes what is being explained on this channel true and not a product of one's imagination and different and unique than everything else on the internet that claims to be an analysis of God's prophetic signs. And if we think about it, one simple way in which God would provide a second witness for us is through pairing certain numbers together, such as 23 and 44. And I know this because I've been studying his big picture of signs from morning until night for more than full-time hours for 7 years. And 23 and 44 are paired together because the basketball president who wore number 23 in high school was the 44th president. Okay, now, so that's why the 2 times 3 deaths targeted after the 4 times 4 injured in Tel Aviv. It confirms that we are talking about the 44th president here, which is also, again, why the name of the city is the equivalent of the name Barak, as I explained. But also, this 6 deaths on the anniversary of the tsunami that arrived 6 hours later revealed adding 6 days, as in adding 6 hours, right? That's what the adding of 6 hours hinted at. God was very creative here. He chose a place, Yemen, which was 6 hours after the earthquake, to point to 6 days after this sign in Yemen. It's amazing how God works, right? Now, this 6 days is also 2 plus 2 plus 2 days. And the 45th, as in 0.0222, president is predicted to die 2 plus 2 plus 2 days after the 20th anniversary of the 220,000 deaths, okay, on the anniversary after the tsunami arrived 2 plus 2 plus 2 hours after the earthquake, and also when Tedros of the WHO posted 2 hours after the IDF attack that killed 2 plus 2 plus 2 people, right? Did you get all that? That's amazing. Now, there's more to why this is significant. It's because on 9/11 in 2001, trumpet, God's trumpet that he uses to trumpet and highlight his prophetic signs, the 45th, as in 0.0222, president called into Channel 9 News, as in the 9.0 earthquake, the tsunami that caused the tsunami, and inadvertently trumpeted that his tower on Wall Street had become the tallest in Lower Manhattan. This pointed to George Washington's walk down Wall Street after his inauguration, and Washington was born on the date 2/22. All right, now I explained in other videos, it's like the basic thing of God's signs is the warning of judgment on 9/11 that pointed to George Washington, who was born on the date 2/22. Trump is a part of this pointing to Washington. Washington was inaugurated in Federal Hall on Wall Street. The foundation of Federal Hall was cracked when the 220 floors, as in two towers, 110 stories each, 220 as in the 220,000 deaths in the tsunami, when the 220 stories of the Twin Towers, the two towers, collapsed and engendered a small earthquake after the two planes struck the towers and cracked the foundation of Wall Street, which was symbolic, a foundation of Federal Hall, where George Washington was inaugurated, who was born on the date 2/22, which was symbolic of the foundation of America being cracked, which is God. After his inauguration, Washington marched down Wall Street, as in the Israelites that marched around the walls of security of the ancient city of Jericho before they collapsed in God's judgment, as in the Twin Towers collapsed, and went into Trinity Chapel, where he consecrated the nation to God, saying that if the nation were to ever turn away from God, it would lose its divine protection and blessings. And he knew more than anyone that the foundation of America was based in God's protection because he saw it firsthand during the miracles that happened during the Revolutionary War. Today, the Miracle Chapel is known as the Miracle Chapel because it was the only building at Ground Zero that survived the falling debris and did so without even a broken window due to the sycamore tree, the 70-year-old sycamore tree that was uprooted as it sheltered the chapel. And today there is a 20-foot high bronze statue of the roots of the tree commemorating this tree. In Isaiah chapter 9, verse 11, which is the warning to ancient Israel after the raid of the ancient Assyrians, the world's first documented terrorists, and the terrorists on 9/11 came from the same region of the world, it speaks of the uprooted sycamore trees. Okay, now, let's see, I think that does it for this paragraph here. So we've got God pointing also at the same time, because this is how it works, right? God's able to tell these stories. He's not just saying that Trump will die on a certain date. He's now incorporating another theme here, which is the mark of the Antichrist, through this sign involving the head of the WHO in Yemen on this day. Now, the prophetic sign on December 26th, 2024, involving the director of the WHO on the anniversary of the flooding from the tsunami is 16,560,000 minutes, which incidentally is the equivalent of 115 days, before the predicted symbolic beginning of a new pandemic or something related, such as a new thing, on April 20th, 2025. The reason why this connection of 16,560,000 minutes is relevant is because in the Bible, the flood judgment occurred 1,656 years after Adam. So in other words, this number, 1,656, symbolizes the flood, and this sign occurred on the anniversary of the flooding caused by the tsunami, which makes this connection relevant. Again, this is how God's true big picture of signs, patterns, and connections works on the principle of second and third witnesses, which the Bible says is required. And so the second witness here is the flooding symbolism from the tsunami that makes this particular connection relevant. This date was known prior to this connection. In other words, this date wasn't discovered because of this connection. It is a confirmation of it, though. God is pointing to April 20th, 2025. That said, it may just be a step. It's not clear. What I am saying, though, is that the theme that God is communicating regarding this date is a symbolic beginning to a new pandemic or a new thing. Something is going to happen, and it may not be recognized unless you have the eyes, spiritual eyes, to see it, because if it's a prophetic sign. So, for example, I was saying December 26th ahead of time, and probably 100% of the people that heard about that did not recognize the Trump-related sign that I just explained on December 26th. Likewise, that may be the case with April 20th. It may be a prophetic sign that you will not be able to recognize, but that I will be able to because of the knowledge that I have on God's big picture of science. Right? Classic case is what happened on December 26th. I knew ahead of time that God was pointing to the 20th anniversary of the tsunami, and that's how the pieces came together with the tsunami 6 hours afterwards, etc., right? Like I just explained. And the relevance with Trump being the inverse of 45 and 0.022, etc. Okay, so that's how it works. We'll see what happens on April 20th. Maybe it will be the symbolic beginning of a new pandemic. The chances are good, but it may also be a step. And if it is a step, probably you'll only hear about how the prophetic signs make it a step on this channel.